At long last, the successor to the Evercade handheld console, the Evercade EXP, is here. Is it any good? Let's find out. Hi and welcome back to the shed. I'm Joe Bleeps, and this that I've got in my hot little hands is the Evercade EXP. It's the successor to the fantastic little handheld Evercade. It runs cartridges, it plays retro games, it plays indie games. It should be pretty awesome. So we're going to take a closer look, get it out of the box and see just what it can do. Okay, so a couple of years ago, Blaze released the Evercade. It was a bold move, and the thing that makes this handheld stand out in a sea of kind of handhelds that run a whole load of different ROMs off SD cards is that this is not SD card based. This actually runs cartridges, and the cartridges are all carefully curated collections of individual games, and you'll typically get somewhere between 6 and 20 games on these cartridges. So it might feel like a bit of a strange move when you can buy handheld consoles that are full of loads and loads of games, but the thing is that can often be quite overwhelming, and you can spend more time scrolling through menus and trying to find a ROM that works than, as I find with these, like on this Indie Heroes collection where I've got 14 games here, you actually spend quite a bit of time on individual games, and there's save states so you can pick up where you left off and carry on. It's a really cool little format. It was a bold move, and when Blaze came out with it originally, it was one of those, like, they'd promised it was going to be supported and they were going to keep releasing cartridges for it, but with that sort of thing you never know, and it depends on the uptake, and thankfully it has been a success. They've got a good following. They've continued to release lots and lots of the games on cartridges like this that come in the authentic collectible kind of clamshell cases. It's a really nicely thought out venture, and I'm really glad it's been doing well. Since getting the original handheld, which I really liked, I also got the home console version, which is the Evercade Versus, and that's a great way of playing the same cartridge games on your TV. I mean, the handheld will connect to the TV, but having the console plugged to the TV is really convenient, and you can have multiplayer with the controllers as well. But I've already got a review of the original handheld, and I've got a review of the home console on my channel. I'll try and remember to link them up here. But today is all about the Evercade EXP. This is the latest revision of the original handheld format. One of the things that this came under fire for originally was the viewing angles on the screen aren't great. The screen's fine, it's adequate, but compared to a lot of its competition in the field, it's not really up to scratch. I always quite liked the look and feel of this. It's got a really retro vibe to it, but the design definitely looks to have been updated with the EXP. If we look on the back there, you can see that style is much more in keeping with things like the Retroid and the Burnic consoles, and even things like the Nintendo Switch. You know, you can see that the similarities there in terms of the styling. So this one comes with a whole load of games built in. So instead of a separate cartridge, it's got the Capcom Collection built in. It also comes with the Irem Arcade 1 cartridge with a bunch of games built into that too. So we're going to open this up, take a look at what you get in the bundle, and then I'll give you a little bit of a run through what the console does and how it differs from the original. So we'll switch that one off and we'll open this up and take a look. So it's got a kind of an outer sleeve on the box that will be removed, and then retro gaming leveled up with this monochrome graphic on there. The console itself just sits in this cardboard tray, which will lift out, and underneath there you've got the artwork and instruction manual for the Capcom Collection that comes built into the console. In the bottom here we've got a USB-C cable for charging, and we've got the Irem Arcade 1 collection. We've also got a quick start guide, and that's pretty much it in terms of paperwork and bits and pieces. So we'll just move the box out of the way, take a look at the console itself. So at first look, it is completely plastic casing. The front is like a smooth but matte finish. Everything is in white, all the buttons, everything else is in white. There is a black version. There was a limited edition black version, but I like the look of the white one, so that was what I went with. There is a shiny screen lens mounted in flush with the rest of the front shell where the display is, but the rest of it is this kind of matte finish plastic. On the back you've got a bit more texture to it, which has the Evercade logo indented into the back there, and generally it feels comfortable to hold. The texture makes it much more of a, you know, a grippy, comfortable surface, and in terms of the ergonomics of where your thumb will reach the buttons, it's fairly straightforward to use. There is one button on top, which is the power switch, and there's also a mini HDMI output for when you connect into a TV. There are two trigger buttons on each side, and then on the bottom here we've got the volume controls, we've got the USB-C port for charging, we've got the headphone jack, and we've got the T button here, which we'll get onto in a moment, but this is for Tate mode. Also, the display status LED is here. It's not actually on the main surface, whereas before it was near the menu button here. This time it's out of the way, so you can see it lighting up, but it doesn't get in your field of view. We've also obviously got the opening here for the cartridges. When the cartridges plug into this console, they fit completely flush, so they kind of make up the shape of the console itself. Obviously that's missing at the moment, and there are stereo speakers. They come out the bottom there, and when you are holding it, it's in such a way that your fingers, thumbs don't obscure that, so the sound comes out pretty clear. Is there anything else I've missed out? So we've got our face buttons here, A, B, X, Y. They are in kind of the Xbox orientation rather than the Nintendo orientation, which can get a little confusing, particularly if you're playing games like Street Fighter or Mega Man, where you're used to the Nintendo A, B, X, Y. So yeah, you're going to have to get used to that. But also, the most interesting thing about this, and the thing that sets it apart from the original and from all other handhelds in that case, is this A and B button here. See, what that means is that you can either play like this, like with your games in landscape, or for like your scrolling 2D shooters and your retro arcade games. Sometimes they've got the screen in what's called Tate mode, where the screen is rotated, and having the A and B buttons here means you can use the D-pad the other way around and use it this way around, which I think is an awesome touch, and it's something that I wish other consoles would do as well. I think, you know, I've kind of managed to fudge it with PSP and emulators in the past, but sometimes you need to reach around, hold it like that. With this, you can even see the orientation of the A and the B there, like it's purposefully designed for that. This is explained on the box as well, that it's got this Tate mode, play vertical for arcade action. So the screen does pick up quite a lot of fingerprints and thumbprints, but it doesn't really affect things once you've got the games actually loaded up. So to power on, you simply press and hold the power button there. Watch out for the fact that you need to press and hold that for a couple of seconds, and then after you've pressed that, nothing will come on. So when you first use it, don't be surprised that you'll have that little moment of panic that it's like, oh, nothing's working. It just takes a little while to boot and load up. You get the Blaze logo come up, and then there is a little loading animation that comes up that's kind of cool. So it does take a little while to come on, but once it's on, in terms of loading games and everything else, it's fairly quick. So obviously it comes up there with no cartridge inserted. In terms of the display, you can change that theme. At the moment, I've got it on the blue and gold theme. If we go into the settings menu, so at the side, you've got the cartridge menu. So there's no cartridge inserted, so we can't do anything there. There's the main EXP logo there, where it'll take us into the main menu. So if we go in there, we've got the built-in Capcom Collection. Hidden games, 0 out of 5 games unlocked. I haven't worked out how to unlock those yet. And then there's a coming soon. Now that's when you get online, because this console, unlike the previous version where you would have to connect up with a USB cable to computer to update it, this one will connect to the internet via Wi-Fi, so you can do firmware upgrades and you can install games from online and so on with it. So it's much more versatile in terms of that. So if I go to the left hand menu here and go to settings, you can go to theme and you can choose between blue and gold, dark, Evercade EXP, Evercade grid and light. So I'm going to go to the Evercade grid, which is actually the default one that it comes with. It's a nice clear monochrome display. And speaking of the display, it's really good. Like, the viewing angles are excellent. We'll load up a game and have a look at how they tend to look. So if we go on the EXP menu, we'll go on the Capcom Collection there. And then you've got like this grid of games that you can go through and choose from. So for example, if we load up Ghouls and Ghosts there, we press A to load the game, but we'll get a kind of interim screen once we've loaded it. So it'll have like the game artwork, it'll have the poster, it'll have information about the game, it'll have the controls and the settings, and you can set things like coin limits. Obviously these are arcade games, so you have to insert coin to play. So then we'll just come out of that and we'll go on play. Now we'll press A to load. There is a means of being able to load your game from where you were up to last time you played. So if I press the select button here, by the way, I've turned the volume down. I can turn it up a little bit so we can hear a bit more, but I'll press the select button to put a coin in, so you can just keep pressing select to load those. In terms of the display, you can go into this little hamburger menu with the 3 stripes. You tap on that and it'll bring up this pause screen, which is great because you can't pause arcade games, so this is very useful. But this brings up the game options, mainly to do with save. You can quick save wherever you're up to. You can load your last save. You can check on the controls, the display settings, and so on. So if I go on display settings, you can have original ratio or pixel perfect. The pixel perfect is usually a bit smaller, but will be more accurate in terms of comparing to the original display. Or you can go full screen. Now this is a widescreen and it'll stretch the old games to widescreen, which in my opinion looks pretty horrible, but the option is there if you need it. I'm going to go to original ratio in this case. You also can turn on things like scan lines, and you can make them subtle or strong or have none. You can add a bezel, so if you've got it to the original size and you want to add something around, at the moment it's set to none, but if I change that to say Evercade EXP, it'll have a little bit of colour around the edge, or Evercade Origin, which is like the older one, or wireframe, and so on. So I'm going to leave it on wireframe for now, or you can even have the box art. So let's go on box art, actually, see how that looks. So I'll come out of here, and then I'll just press start to get going. So in terms of the quality of the display, it's really good. I'm not sure if it's showing up particularly well. There you go. Just move my lamp out of the way so you can see the colours a bit better. Viewing angles are excellent, and the colour depth and everything looks fantastic. The blacks are really dark, the colours are really vibrant, and I am dying as usual because I'm no good at these games. So in terms of the buttons, the D-pad is a bit flatter than it was previously, which felt a little strange at first, but the more I've got used to it, it's fine. And also it's got that kind of matte finish to it, so with the matte finish you tend to not slide around on the button quite as much, so that's really good and nice and comfortable. It's quite different when it comes to the other buttons. So what we'll do here is we'll press our game menu, we'll go to quit, and we'll go back out of here, and I'm going to go on to 1943 because that is a top-down scrolling shooter that has a vertical orientation. So if we load up here, you can see the screen looks like this, and we've got the sort of box art background there. But if I now press the T button for the Tate mode, it'll rotate the screen, and now we can rotate our console, and we've got this kind of vertical setup, which I think is absolutely awesome. So we'll press again select to get some credits and start to start, and now we've got these two slightly smaller face buttons. Now these are a little bit less pronounced. You'll look, they're almost flush with the console, and when you press it feels like they're kind of going into the console. To be honest, I prefer the ones like this that stick out a little bit more. You feel like you get a little bit more response from them. But this is still pretty cool. So I'll just get rid of everybody with a bomb and then have a bit of a play. The only downside I find to this Tate mode, which to me, the Tate mode is a system seller. I've loved these sort of vertical orientation scrolling games for years, and having a console dedicated to that format is really quite exciting. But, and there's always a but, isn't there? It's kind of very top heavy because it's a well-balanced console. You've not got much in the middle because this is where the cartridge goes, so most of the weight is here and here, and when you're holding like this and the controls are right near the bottom there, it's quite top heavy, so it does feel like it's pulling down there slightly, and it will feel like it slips out of your hands a little bit. But it's a minor criticism. I think I died while I was rambling on about that, so let's just get those in and start again. So I think it might be a case of just trying to get a bit more comfortable holding it that certain way. But definitely, I think the option to be able to have it that way around is really, really cool. And I hope that they bring out more and more cartridges that include the games that can be rotated. I'd love for a lot of the publishers that did the vertically oriented shoot 'em up games to get involved and bring out more and more of the cartridges with these sort of games on, because I think it's something that, apart from having the cartridges, which already sets it aside from a lot of the other stuff on the market, I think having it like this and having the orientation with the dedicated controls, and also how easy it is to swap round, having that little T button to swap into Tate mode, I think it's really cool. And it's very convenient, and it's quick and easy, and it's intuitive. And I think playing like this and having it on the full screen really, really adds to the experience. So I think that is definitely a win, and good, and more, it's a really good reason for having an update to the console. Not just that it's got an updated screen, it still runs the same cartridges, it's still got the same interface, same controls and so on, but having that extra feature added in with the Tate mode, I think it's really, really good. So if you wanted to come out of that mode, you just press T there. If you've got it in Tate mode and you press the menu button, then your menu is also oriented that way around. But we'll just swap it back round. We'll come out of there and we will quit. So that was the built-in games. We've got a whole load of stuff in there: 1942, 1943, 1944, Bionic Commando, Breath of Fire, Captain Commando, Commando, Final Fight, Forgotten Worlds, Ghouls and Ghosts, Legendary Wings, Mega Man, Mega Man 2, Mega Man X, Street Fighter 2, Hyper Fighting, Strider, Vulgus, and Wolf of the Battlefield Mercs. So a whole load of games, 18 games built in. If we then go back to the main menu, remember at the side there, we've got the EXP menu, we've got the cartridge menu, and we've got the settings. So if we go to the cartridge menu, it'll say no cartridge inserted. With the other consoles, you could generally hot swap those cartridges, and this is the same. So this is that Irem Arcade 1 cartridge. So we've got the artwork on this side. It plugs into the console at the back, and once it's in, it sits completely flush. It becomes the shape of the console itself. If we go out of there and back to cartridge, let's try pressing A. So cartridge inserted. We'll go in the menu, we'll come back out, go to cartridge, still says no cartridge inserted. There we go. So I wasn't sure if it was hot swappable or not, and I put that in, it was saying no cartridge, but I just took it out, put it in. I mean, hopefully that won't break it. It seems to be no issue at all there. So now we've got the games loaded up. Now this collection only has 6 games, but of those games, we've got In the Hunt and R-Type, which are both awesome. The full collection is R-Type, In the Hunt, Moon Patrol, Lightning Swords, Battle Chopper, and 10 Yard Fight. Now, if we load up In the Hunt, this is a really cool little, it looks almost like a Neo Geo type graphic on it, but it's a really cool little scrolling shooter where your movement controls the scrolling. It's one of my favourites, and it's really cool to see it on one of these collections. So although there are only 6 games on here, the fact it's got R-Type, which is like an all-time favourite, and it's got In the Hunt there as well, I think is really cool. So if we just enter a few credits and press start and get that loaded up. Stage 1, the South Pole. So yeah, you can kind of move around yourself with the D-pad, and it will scroll depending on your direction. So you've got like a bit more where you can move around and get a bit of control over what you're doing. Fire the missiles that way, fire bombs off there. And as I say, the graphic style of this one always reminds me of kind of some of the Neo Geo games. It's a really cool one to play, but also it's a really, really good showcase for the colours and the display of this console, because it is just like, compared to the original Evercade, this is like night and day. It really does look fantastic. The stereo speakers sound pretty good. There is the headphone input if you want to improve the sound quality of what you're playing, but certainly for a quick pick up and play console, I think it's It's something I was already quite fond of, but this upgrade feels like a proper upgrade. Now, if I'm in the middle of playing and I'm waiting for a bus and my bus arrives or whatever else, I can pause. I can just go to save or even quick save, and that will save my game wherever I'm up to. So let's say if I died now and like I was on my last life or whatever else, then I can go on that game menu again, load last save, and it'll bring me back to where I was before I'd encountered any damage. So it makes these kind of brutal, unforgiving arcade games that little bit more forgiving. Right, now what else do I need to show you? So we can come out of there and we'll just go to, so when we've got each game loaded up, we can check on all these different things. You've got the save options. Let's have a little look at controls. So it basically just lets you know how to play each individual game, because obviously every game is going to have a slightly different control setup. So I think rather than have to consult the manuals, you've got things like the actual in-game menu there, so it makes it much easier to work out how to play each individual game. Right, so we will quit that one, come out of there, back out of there. So you've basically got access to 2 cartridges each time, because you've got the built-in one and you've got the cartridge of whichever one you've put in there. So let's see if it works to hot swap. I've got one of my older ones here. So we've got the Atari Collection 1 there. If I just pop that out, no cartridge inserted, and then we'll put the Atari one in, and then that automatically loads up and we can choose our game. So let's say we go with Asteroids there, and that will load straight up for us. So that one there is on and we're good to go. It's a slight change from the graphics that you get with the in the Hunt, but there you go. Again, we've got the same menu, loads up no matter what cartridge you put in. We can go on display settings. Now if we this time go on there and we change it to pixel perfect and then come back out, you'll see the display looks a little bit better. So depending on the format, it might be better with pixel perfect, it might be better with original ratio. It's not particularly good with widescreen, but considering you've also got things like the Indie Heroes collection, the versatility's there. So if you've got new cartridges that come out, or they have more modern games and some have widescreen, then it's nice to know that option's there. It's kind of like future-proofing. There's no harm at all in having these borders at the side. It's not like, because when it first came out, one of the things I feared was, like, let's say if we go on display settings and go to full screen, one of the things I feared was that all the games would just be stretched like that and it'd look horrible, but you've got a lot of control over what you're doing there. When I compare it to the original console there, this definitely has that sort of toy feel to it, and going back to the feel of that one, it's quite smooth plastic on the back. It does feel a lot cheaper. It's a bit more lightweight, which is actually kind of maybe better in terms of a handheld. This is a little bit heavier, but it feels much more substantial. Although it's all entirely plastic, it doesn't feel that cheap. It feels nice and solid. The build quality is good. One of the things that bothers me a little bit is that these buttons aren't more pronounced. You know, it's like with the modding scene, you never know, you might get new button sets coming out available and you can figure out how to pop this thing open and swap them over. But as it stands, I think it's a really, really good upgrade on what was already an excellent little console. But, you know, it's a world of difference between these two. It feels like they've listened to customer feedback. Do you like the little LED there that's flashing? So that's gone into sleep mode. Now it's been left. Now, in terms of portability, there are carry cases for it. And I do think that with the screen being as it is, it feels like a plastic layer over the top of there. It's not a glass screen. This is something that could be prone to scratches. So I will have to look into investing in a carry case for it if I can get hold of one. But I don't actually tend to take these things out very much, and a lot of the time I'll be sitting at home playing. So for the moment, not a problem at all. I've not tried hooking up to the TV, but again, I've got the Evercade Versus for doing that. I have connected up my original Evercade to the TV and it was a good experience. It works really well. Just basically takes the video display you've got there out to the TV. So yeah, that is it. I'm not really sure of anything else I might want to add to this. The interface itself, in terms of scrolling through the menus, there's so much attention to detail every time. Like, I've never played lightning swords before, so if I click on this, it will not only give me the option to just play straight away, so you can skip all this, I can look at the artwork, I can go to the information, and it'll tell you that it's an action game for 1 or 2 players simultaneously. As Blue Dragon, you must avenge the murder of Princess Orchid, and then you can tap on here, it'll give you more information, and then you come out of there, you scroll down, it's got the controls, it's got your stats, so it'll keep track of how much time you've played on a game, what your load count is, your save count, and so on. Yeah, there's just so much attention to detail with this, that even though we've got 6 games built in here, and like I said before, there are handhelds out there that you can absolutely load up with thousands of games, I will get more time out of these individual games than I would even touch on my Anbernic console. I love my Anbernic, I also love this. I think it's fine to appreciate both. They both have their advantages. So let's load up Battle Chopper. I've never played that one. It's another shoot 'em up from 1987, and here we are. So that one is stretched across the whole screen there. If we go onto the menu and we go to display settings, so at the moment that's on full screen, we'll click on original ratio there and come back out. So there we go, that's a little bit more appropriate. So we can insert our coin with select, and we're good to go in terms of play. So you can change which way around you're facing. So another one with a similar kind of control scheme to In the Hunt. You can shoot up as well there. Let's have a look at some of the games. So 10-Yard Fight is an American football game, so I really don't see myself spending much time playing that one, but it's on there if that interests you, and who knows, I may end up getting sucked right into it. Or not. No idea what I'm doing here, but then that is where this comes in, because you can go on there and you can go on controls. D-pad is move player, A is forward pass, B is sideways pass, right, and that's basically all you need to know. Pass forward, pass to the side, move the player. Okay, that's fine, and that's where this comes in really handy. Let's just come back out of there, we'll quit anyway, and we'll look at lightning swords. We'll load that. Again, if you're not sure on the controls, we go on controls. So D-pad moves, and B is attack and defend and charge, and that's basically it. So that's fine, so you're not fumbling about with the other buttons wondering what they do. I like the charge effect on this one. It's funny because this is where it's Irem, and you're used to having the charge for R-Type, and you're seeing like the same sort of patterns in terms of control and gameplay. I like that. Right, let's see, what else have we got that we've not looked at yet? Moon Patrol. A really old one there, beginner course go. So again, we'll check on here, controls, D-pad moves the buggy, A is jump, B is fire. Right, jump and fire. Okay, so you're supposed to jump over the holes, yeah. We'll know that for next time. So let's jump. And that's Moonbuggy. And of course, we couldn't check out that Irem Collection without having to go on R-Type. One of my all-time favourites. Again, I love a game, but I'm really, really bad at it. But anyway, we'll get the volume up a little bit. We'll add some credits as soon as it's loaded. And we'll get going. So R-Type is another one of those, like if we go on the controls there, we move the ship with the D-pad. A is to attach or detach the force once we eventually get that, and B is our main fire button. You press and hold that for your cannon. So if we come out of there and out of there, press and hold that to get going, and we'll get a wave coming in at the top there, so you can dispense with a lot of those straight away. And we'll get the extra bits soon, so we'll just get rid of all of these. Oh, this is fantastic. It's a really good game for displaying the black levels on the screen as well, because the contrast is superb. I really, really like the original Evercade, but yeah, this just looks superb. And there I am dead because I'm trying to talk and play at the same time. But anyway, we'll come out of there. We've checked all the games on that one. And that's the thing, it's every time you get a new cartridge, like the Indie Heroes one here, you've got all the information in your little booklet, you've got the individual controls and menus when you get into each individual game, but you can really spend some time, you know, you invest in one of these. Modern games on current consoles are like £50, £60, so picking up these cartridges for between £15 and £20 really feels like good value for money. The presentation's there. Clearly it's a labour of love in terms of producing something that people are really going to want. You've got that horrific collectability thing of having the numbered cartridges, so you can't cope with having ones missing and you keep building up your collection. But I think the fact that now we've got different ranges of cartridges, so we've got ones like these, which are the kind of the original game type ones, and then the purple ones are like the arcade releases. It's expanding more and more, and the fact that it started as something that maybe would be a success or not, I mean, holding this in my hands now compared to holding this one, it is a world of difference. This really is a good upgrade, and I wasn't sure if I'd feel a bit daft having bought that basically to replace something that does exactly the same thing. It was worth it. This cost about £125, which comes with the built-in Capcom collection. It comes with the Irem cartridge collection. Yeah, I'm quite happy with it. It feels like it was well worth getting, and I'm looking forward to playing more and more games on it. So yeah, recommended. So the short answer to my original question, is it any good? It's a resounding yes. The screen looks amazing. The interface is as intuitive as ever. I love the fact that you've got the individual menus to give you the controls for each individual game. A little bit of background information if it's a game you've never heard of before. The attention to detail is superb. The Tate mode was the system seller for me. It's a really nice touch. I'm not that sold on these two buttons. I wish they were a little bit more pronounced, but that's a fussy bit of nitpicking. In terms of being able to play in that orientation without having to faff around, there's just a simple button to swap the orientation. It's really, really good. So yeah, it cost me £125. It comes with 2 game collections, one on cartridge, one built in. I think for what you get, it's really good value for money, and I would definitely recommend it if you're thinking of trying one out. So I am planning to hopefully do a few more videos with this. I've ordered more game cartridges. I thought it might be nice to do some quick little videos just giving a run through of individual cartridges and little reviews. So if you're interested in seeing that, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, please leave a like if you enjoyed this. Join in the chat if you've got one of these, if you've tried it, if you're thinking of getting one, let me know what you think. So if you enjoyed this, please leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more like this. I've got plenty more videos coming soon. And yeah, until next time, bye.